All right, so good morning or good afternoon, I should say. I'm glad everyone was able to join us this afternoon for our account-based marketing webinar. Before I get into the webinar, I just wanted to do a quick review on our background services. So we have over 10 years experience working in marketing, digital design, and development. We've served a variety of industries, which include metrology, automotive, and technology. We do offer general marketing services such as SEO, web design, and consulting. And we also have experience with graphic design, analytics, and tracking, CMS management. So we are proficient in WordPress, Shopify, and Webflow. And we do offer UX UI design as a service. So if you have a SaaS or software idea, we'd love to hear it. So this is today's agenda. We're going to go over what is account-based marketing. We're going to go over ABM versus traditional marketing. We're going to go over ABM benefits and review some successful examples done by bigger companies. We're going to go over how you can carry out a ABM campaign step by step. We're going to review a practical example of an ABM campaign. We'll go over tips and tricks and then also considerations. So what is account-based marketing? So account-based marketing, or ABM, is a strategic approach to B2B marketing that focuses on identifying, targeting, and engaging specific high-value accounts rather than broad audiences. So ABM is considered the spear, while traditional marketing methods are considered a net. And we have experience doing activities from both and with other companies with success. However, activities from the spear is usually recommended for B2B businesses with a high purchase price, long sales cycles, and complex products. So there's three foundations to ABM. So the first foundation is personalization. These are tailored marketing efforts for each target account to address their unique needs and pain points, and this is based on industry and company size. For example, if your product or solution serves many industries, you could create a custom ABM campaign for aerospace companies only. This also refers to making sure that your content is personalized based on the persona of your buying committee. So you could have a case study that could be personalized for an executive and another piece of content personalized for a quality manager. Another foundation with ABM is sales and marketing alignment. You want these two teams working together to target the same account and audience. When running ABM campaigns, you want to avoid marketing and sales teams working in silos. It's common to see marketing reach out to a broad audience across industries, while inside sales does a direct email outreach to separate prospects from a cold lead list. With ABM, you ideally want inside sales and marketing teams targeting the same audience. So if we take that same lead list that inside sales team is working from and figure out ways marketing can promote your product or solutions to that same audience, but in other channels like LinkedIn, you're going to be more aligned with ABM. And then the other foundation for ABM is quality over quantity. So we're emphasizing high value accounts rather than generating a large volume of generic leads. For example, you could target a company like Boeing directly instead of targeting 1,000 individual companies across industries. So what are some benefits to ABM? Some of the benefits include that it aligns marketing and sales teams. We're breaking down silos so that they work together and they can better collaborate. This in turn streamlines workflows. It improves communication and campaign performance. Another benefit is that it creates consistent customer experiences. 48% of buyers value consistent and reliable interaction, and ABM ensures that there's aligned messaging across all touch points, and this boosts trust and conversion. So, for example, the outreach that your inside sales teams use should resemble the same messaging that your marketing team uses for their promotional materials. Another benefit is that it increases ROI. 76% of marketers say ABM generates higher ROI than other marketing strategies. And 58% of marketers see the size of their deals increase with ABM programs. Another benefit is that it streamlines sales cycles. So you're focusing on high value accounts ready to act. And this in turn reduces time to close. You're also going to simplify the nurturing because you're prioritizing leads that are more likely to convert. Also, it boosts content relevant and trust because you're delivering tailored content based on where the lead is in the sales journey. And you're also going to build trust by meeting B2B expectation because your marketing is personalized. So there's three different account types to ABM. There's one-to-many, one-to-few, and one-to-one. So for example, if you have a company that serves the aerospace industry, you could run a one-to-many ABM strategy that targets 500 small aerospace manufacturing companies, or you could do a one-to-one ABM campaign dedicated to a large company like Boeing. So let's review some examples. The first example is DocuSign. DocuSign created unique websites tailored to 6 separate industries that it wanted to target. From there, it drove its target contacts to these websites via display ads. And since DocuSign knew exactly who would visit these websites, it populated the content with highly personal information. And this substantially increased conversion. Another successful example is by GumGum, which is a contextual intelligence company. It was targeting an account with T-Mobile. Its team decided to create a custom superhero comic book featuring the T-Mobile CEO as the hero of the story. The comic book ended up going viral, and it successfully landed the T-Mobile account. And this is actually the CEO of T-Mobile retweeting the comic book. And then account-based marketing doesn't have to happen in the digital realm either. This product design company called Intrudia cleverly bought a billboard in front of Ogilvy's headquarters in New York City to get the brand's attention. So in this section, let's actually review the steps of carrying out an ABM campaign. So the first step is you want to identify your target accounts. You want to determine industry and company type you should target first. You can use industry directories. Maybe there's some associations you can take advantage of. LinkedIn is a good resource. And you want to compile a list of companies. Then you could prioritize the companies based on size, location, and compatibility with your product, service, or solution. Then you want to do research activities. You want to identify common issues and pain points experienced by these companies. You can do online desk research to see if there's any industry trends. You can conduct interviews with stakeholders, current customers, sales, and potential customers. And I know it's really hard to actually get access to customers, but at a minimum, if you can interview your stakeholders, it's going to provide a lot of valuable insights, which is going to help create your research materials as well as your promotional materials. And then you want to analyze both the qualitative and quantitative data from your website and CRM. And once this is done, you should have 3 key deliverables from your research. Ideally, you would have personas, you would have a storyboard, and also a customer journey map that represents what the key influencer of the buying committee goes through. So here are some examples of personas that we've created in the past. They help teams get a shared understanding of who they're targeting for a specific campaign or project. These are great to include in Confluence documentation, design systems, presentation slides, and virtual workshops. They will also help later when you segment your audience list, whether that's through LinkedIn Sales Navigator or something else. Ideally, these are based on real customers, but that might not always be the case. You can use a mix of assumptions, research insights, and get help from your sales team to refine these. Then ideally you'd have a storyboard. They can help visualize what companies do before, during, and after they purchase a solution for your product from your company. This is an example storyboard we've created for the aerospace industry. And in this example, this aerospace company that we'd like to do business with has identified a problem on their manufacturing floor. They have interdepartmental meetings to figure out solutions. A key influencer, it could be, in this case, a manufacturing manager, does online research. They find you or us or however you want to call it, and then a demo is held at the facility and then a contract is signed. So again, it's a very simplified example, but I hope you can get inspiration for when you create your own storyboards. And then these storyboards can actually be combined with customer journey maps. And customer journey maps show the entire customer experience for your organization. At this point, you should have identified a key influencer that is mostly involved with the buying process. This map shows the stages the key influencer goes through, all the way from awareness to service and support, where they're actually using your product or service. The team can then reference the insights gathered from the interviews or other research activities and post ideas on how we can make improvements to the customer journey. I do plan on creating a separate video that goes more into detail on this process, but just to talk about a real life example that we went through recently, one of our clients that we've worked with identified an issue during its sales process. The problem was we found that production and quality teams would butt heads on moving forward with the purchase of our products. Seeing this issue laid out on the journey map, we were able to brainstorm ideas on sales materials specifically for quality managers that helped alleviate this issue. So once you have a shared understanding of the customer experience, you can use this information to create high value personalized content and events. So essentially you want to give your best advice for free. For your ABM campaign, you need to create useful content for your audience to establish trust and spread awareness. And these are just some examples of personalized high-value content you could create. This could even be personalized further by persona, which was mentioned earlier. So we have guides, case studies, webinars, landing pages. We have presentation slides. So ideally, we have the slide decks created for sales teams, so they spend less time recreating the same slide deck over and over again. They just have slides that they can choose from depending on what industry or what campaign you're running. You have documentation. This is spreadsheets, cheat sheets, and slides. This is specifically for your customers or potential customers, I should say. Maybe you can build a mini SaaS. And what I mean by this is maybe there's like an online tool you can create, or maybe even a dashboard. So just for example, people who have attended this webinar are going to get a free Looker Studio dashboard template that's going to combine website, sales, and marketing data. And it's going to connect to things such as Google Analytics, your CRM, and your marketing platforms such as LinkedIn, and it combines that data in one place. So I'm giving that out for free, and that's something that you could potentially do for your ABM campaign. Email marketing, you want to create drip campaigns to key influencers during the sales cycle, and then educational content to your marketing qualified leads, just so that you stay top of mind. And then also potentially giving out swag. If you have a customer's physical address and they've agreed to a direct mail campaign, you could send them things such as pens, notebooks, and mugs. So once you have the content created, I recommend running paid LinkedIn campaigns using Ad Manager and Sales Navigator. You can use your insights gathered from the research step to help create targeted ads to these specific personas. It shows the advanced feature capabilities from LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You could use these filters to get an accurate list that can be used by both your inside sales and marketing teams. And what you could also do is use a third-party scraping tool like scrap.io, extract these leads from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and re-upload that to LinkedIn Ad Campaign Manager. And then another thing you want to do is measure success. You want to use tools like Google Analytics and CRM to determine campaign success. You want to monitor website traffic, page views, user engagement, click-through rates, and form submissions, as well as actual sales. And this is a screenshot of the dashboard that everyone's going to get at the end of this webinar. Again, as mentioned earlier, this is a Looker Studio template that combines all this information into one place. And there's going to be a technical video guide on how to connect these data sources, but I am willing to make myself available and help out manually editing these on your behalf. So let's walk through a hypothetical ABM example. So in our example, this is our overview of our ideal customer profile, our buying committee, and our campaign. So we want to target mid-size aerospace manufacturing companies. Our buying committee includes manufacturing engineers, procurement, QA, CNC, CMM programmers, and executives. And our campaign is a LinkedIn webinar promotion. So there's layers to this. We're having a webinar on how to have a webinar. All right, so as mentioned earlier, the first step is to identify your target account. And then these are some of the things that you want documented for your ICP. You want your industry, you want the size of the companies that you're going to be targeting. In this case, we're targeting 500 to 1,000 employees. Ideal revenue for this company would be 50 million per year. We have the job title and targets listed. And in your ICP documentation, you should have their needs and pain points listed, as well as processes. So the next step we're going to do is actually create the campaign. And we'll do this through LinkedIn Ad Campaign Manager. This is just an example of the specific criteria you can select. You can select industry, company size, and job titles. Alternatively, you could extract a list of leads from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, create a custom list, and re-upload that here in this ad campaign UI. So this is where you would do that. And again, it doesn't have to be a list from LinkedIn Sales Navigator. If you can extract from your CRM or you have purchased lead list, you can upload that as well. So then we had our ad created. This is the promotion that our audience sees. This is just an example of what you can promote. As you can see here, we want to be industry specific to engage our audience. And in this ad, we have improved quality for aerospace manufacturing. We have identified the industry, drastically increase CPK, minimize bottlenecks, and implement automation. So you have the benefits, you have the industry all in one place, and then ideally you should get a higher engagement rate. So when the user actually clicks on the ad, they should be redirected to a formal registration page. This is a quick mock-up of what the registration form could look like in our hypothetical example. You could collect their information and send more targeted content to people who actually sign up. You could utilize a drip campaign where you email the user slowly over time, and then even have your inside sales team do direct follow-up with people who sign up. And then as far as the landing page goes, I recommend keeping it simple for something like a webinar. You could have a promo video, you have your headline, and then you have the benefits of attending. You have the event details and the actual fields that you need to fill out to attend the event. I've seen companies just require an email, and that actually might be something that would increase your conversion or reduce the friction because there's not as many fields to fill out. So that's something that might be worth time. So you have your webinar, there's some things that you'll need to do afterwards, right? So you may have to do some personalized outreach, and this is just a quick breakdown of traditional after webinar activities versus ABM. So in traditional, we upload the content and send a mass thank you email, but ABM requires a little bit more time and effort. If you are able to create a post-event landing page, you can go ahead and do that. Ideally, you send a personalized email to all attendees. You would prioritize people who are the most engaged. You convert that content into a PDF, and you could even convert that same content into a physical book. Obviously, you want to offer a consultation, repurpose that content for a blog, so you can still use pull-based marketing tactics. And then also to engage with leads who do not attend, right? So if you have a webinar and it's recorded, you can send a recording of that webinar to people who signed up for the webinar but didn't attend. So you can re-engage those good leads. So these are KPIs and results from our hypothetical campaign. To convince stakeholders on running these campaigns, you can grab forecasted results from the LinkedIn ad campaign tool, which is what I did for this example. Overall, try to give your best effort estimate. I think the numbers I put together are realistic and very achievable, with the hope that you could even outperform this using free resources that are provided at the end of the webinar. So in our case, we had 100,000 impressions, 300 people went to the landing page. Of those 335 signed up, half those people attended. Of the half that actually attended the webinar, 9 of those we deemed qualified. Half of those had some sort of demo or consultation, and 3 of those sales closed. So making the assumption that our product is worth $100,000 and our campaign costs were $50,000, because you do have to consider the cost of not only the ad spend itself, but the resources required to create the content, such as freelancers. You're looking at a campaign cost or marketing ROI of 5 to 1, which is what you want to achieve. And then once the campaign is done, you can review the performance and rinse and repeat for company size or industry. You can use your existing assets, and then instead of improving quality for the aerospace manufacturing industry, we're actually improving quality for the automotive manufacturing industry. And again, it doesn't have to be a webinar. It could be an in-house event. It could be a piece of content like a guide. It could be a course you're selling. And you could even mix these materials or events into the same campaign, which is kind of what I did. And then for measuring success and marketing ROI, you want to make sure you have the right technology in place. If you're using LinkedIn and Google Ads and are paying for advertising, those leads are going to get funneled into your website. And whoever submits a form will eventually be sent to the CRM, whether that's through automation or manually. A lot of CRM technologies, such as HubSpot, offer a tracking code where you can identify where your leads came from and see if those leads led to a sale. So for example, if you have 5 sales recorded in your CRM and 3 of those came from LinkedIn and 2 came from Google Ads, you can better calculate marketing ROI by channel. And attendees today are actually going to get a free video course on how they can track this. 2 examples, how they can track it with using both Webflow and HubSpot integration, and how to track this without a CRM. So you'll get free access to the code that you'll need to inject on the website in order to do this. So let's go over some quick tips. So if you're doing cold email outreach, you want to make sure you purchase a separate domain that's separate from your business website. You don't want to be emailing from your main business domain, doing cold outreach and potentially being flagged as spam or blacklisted. It reduces the risk because you have that separate domain. If it's a throwaway domain, it doesn't matter. You also want to make sure you warm up that domain using a tool like Lemwarm, because it's going to improve your email deliverability. And some tools like Instantly.ai allow you to actually purchase the domain, warm it up, and do the cold emailing all in one platform. So another thing to consider is utilizing website builders. We recommend using Webflow. You don't have to use your main website to run these ABM campaigns. You can create a separate website that is a single landing page for your campaign. There's a lot of benefits to this because you avoid the headache of updating an existing old, outdated, or developer-reliant website. With ABM campaigns, you can create the new website or landing page, use a custom domain for your campaign, and once the campaign is over, you can leave it up, you can make changes to it, or you can forward that traffic back to the main website. Another strategy to consider is using direct mail. If you have a physical book to send, why not send it? It's very common to see gated content that is in a PDF, especially in B2B marketing. While I understand the importance of gating content to generate leads, when the content is in a PDF only version, reading it on the phone is an overall bad user experience because the typography is not responsive as you can see to the left-hand side. You could look into sending the physical book instead, which allows you to get the lead's address and potentially send them other materials such as swag. And then another thing that's worth considering that's not really related to direct mail, but maybe there's parts of your website that you can gatekeep so that you can still provide that responsive viewing experience for your gated content. Another tip is combining your ABM campaigns with targeted pull-based advertising. Common for our clients to use Google Ads to target the whole United States for a specific keyword. However, if you're running an ABM campaign, that might not be the most ideal strategy. For example, if you're doing a one-to-one ABM campaign to a company facility that's located in Seattle, it might be in your best interest to create a dedicated Google paid advertisement in that specific location. And this is just a screenshot from the Google Ads dashboard where you can actually run a PPC ad for a large metropolitan area like Seattle. Also consider out-of-home advertising. If Intridia can do it, why not your company, right? So could use a digital out-of-home advertising solution, and it'd be cool to even do something such as a three-dimensional billboard like this example in this slide. I haven't personally run a campaign that uses out-of-home advertising, but I think it should be looked into. It's more accessible now than it was previously. And one of the companies I actually researched is called AdQuick that could potentially help with it. Again, I haven't personally used this myself, but I think it's worth looking into. And then considerations. So challenges to expect. Running ABM campaign is very time and resource intensive. ABM requires research and strategy, which can take time to execute effectively. If you're going to put resources into it, I expect 3 to 6 months to plan a proper ABM campaign. You also have to consider scalability, right? If you only have one marketing person on your team, you have to take that into account, and you're not going to be able to run as many campaigns, or the campaigns are going to be smaller in scale. And then another thing you have to consider is what you're worth selling, is what you're selling worth running an ABM campaign. So we have a minimum $10,000 revenue per deal is the minimum you should consider running an ABM campaign, while ideally the revenue per deal should be around $50,000 to make it worth running. And then as far as getting started goes, start with a pilot campaign targeting a handful of customers or potential customers. For example, if you're in the aerospace industry or you serve that industry, you might want to target just 100 companies in North America and not spend too much on a budget just to get familiar with running ABM campaigns. Another thing is to focus on quality. So you do want to prioritize meaningful engagements versus generating a large amount of leads, and then invest in tools and documentation. So eventually you do want to potentially look into these marketing automation tools. However, if you're just getting started in ABM, it might not be worth the investment today. Get the process down, document that process, get some wins under your belt, and then using those fancy marketing automation tools might be worth it. So that concludes the webinar. We have a lot of time left over. Wondering if anyone had any questions about what has been presented. And if so, if you could raise your hand.
I did have a question. So I'm very new to this world, came from a nonprofit before. I had this job. I've been here for 6 months, so still very new.
Yeah.
Can you go over a little more about the cold call domain slide that you had, so you don't get when it becomes scammy, I guess.
Absolutely. So no, that's a good question. So when a lot of inside sales teams, they do cold email outreach, right? So they get a lead list from these third parties. They also potentially use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and they actually do use a LinkedIn scraper, which is what I mentioned earlier, where you can extract individual emails from these lead lists, right? So the inside sales teams, what they do is they reach out directly to these people, and they don't really use a tool like Constant Contact or MailChimp. They're going into Outlook and emailing from a personal email to these individuals, right? Sometimes what I've noticed is that, say, for example, my main business domain is metricpathedge.com, and say I have an inside sales team, and my inside sales team is using their metricpathedge.com email. That could potentially be bad for my domain, because if they're sending out cold emails to thousands of people, there's a good chance that some of those people are going to be like, I didn't subscribe to this business. Like, why did I get this email? They're gonna go in their email inbox and mark it as spam, right? And I don't want that on my metricpathedge.com email. I want it on a throwaway email domain. And one of the domains that I've actually used before is abmaccelerate.org or .net, something that I don't care about, but something that kind of resembles a campaign. So what I would do is I would go to a tool like Squarespace Domains and purchase a throwaway domain specifically for cold email outreach, so that when my inside sales team reaches out to these individuals directly, and it's guaranteed that some individuals are going to mark it as spam or blocked or whatever. It's on a throwaway domain and not my main business one, which is metricpathedge.com. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. And also too, it's like cold email has shown to be effective. So even though it could come off as spammy, it's definitely something like worth doing. So does anyone else have any questions or concerns? All right, this is your last chance. It's over after this. All right. Thank you guys so much for attending. I really appreciate taking time out of your day to review what I have. If you guys have any questions or concerns, just send me a DM on LinkedIn. And then also to expect to get emailed all the resources that have been promised. You're going to get the dashboard, the spreadsheet, the video courses, and some other stuff too. So I'll make sure to send that over. I appreciate you guys joining the call today. Thank you so much.